Hello, my name is Imani Richardson, and this is my Baltimore Oral History Project for Telecommunications. I hope you enjoy it.
Okay. What's your name?
My name is Michael Shikamaya.
What was your experience growing up in Baltimore?
It was pretty normal. It's not as dangerous as people would say. I didn't live in like a ghetto neighborhood, but I lived in a neighborhood surrounded by ghettos, so we would have drug problems and stuff, or maybe shootings, but it wasn't. I guess it was what you would expect from most middle class or lower middle class communities, and it was a pretty normal lifestyle. Pretty enjoyable though.
What was your experience working in Baltimore?
I guess the main thing about working in Baltimore is that I wouldn't be able to speak for other places. It just feels a bit frustrating at times when you're working here because a lot of things here aren't done expediently or they're not done effectively. And then there's almost a mentality in the community that it's just better, less is more, and the less you do, you'll still get the same paycheck rather than working harder to actually make your life easier for people around you and doing your job well. But I guess the main thing I like about working in Baltimore, though, is that there are a lot of necessities and there are a lot of needs for different talents and skill sets. So I would say you always kind of feel needed, even if you don't feel welcomed, if that makes sense.
What do you feel about people comparing Baltimore to The Wire show, the show The Wire?
I think it's a very poor comparison of Baltimore, because I'm not going to say that Baltimore isn't a dangerous place, but the way that people view The Wire and then they come to Baltimore, they use it as almost a textbook on the city, and that these are not the places you should go. Baltimore as a whole is just a place where gangsters rule and everyone's shooting each other, and that's not nearly the case. While Baltimore often comes in the rankings of like most dangerous places, there's other places that I've been to that they're much more dangerous and I feel much more unsafe. So it's just, I think using The Wire as a comparison with Baltimore just kind of shows the people it shows that the person hasn't lived here. They just are pretty ignorant about the whole community of Baltimore as a whole.
Do you take issue with the number of abandoned homes in Baltimore?
Yeah, it just kind of makes the area look dingy or makes it look poor and impoverished. And I think I would really wish that maybe the city would take these places and do something with them, renovate them, maybe sell them out, or maybe just find a way to put them to good use. So just there's entire blocks boarded up that could be just torn down and made into rec centers or things that can just benefit the community. And you'll see universities or you'll see businesses buying these blocks up, but they don't use them for anything that benefits the community. They just use them for building hotels and such. So rather than having that, I would personally feel like it would just be in just everyone's best interest if the city brought them and used them for something that could help out the future or help out youth from a grassroots movement.
Do you think that the neglect has to do with the African Americans living here or the minorities?
Yeah, you can definitely say that. Like, I definitely know that in African American communities or minority communities, just the property value is lower. And you hear about things such as gentrification, where people will buy out the community and then they'll move or they'll raise the property value, and that'll force African Americans to move. But I think the main thing is a lot of people don't want to move into these communities, like neighborhoods near Patterson Park or so, just because they have these mentalities about the places that someone will rob their homes or someone will shoot them or something like that, which just leads to the government, I guess, feeling like there's no good reason to like renovate a place and try to sell it. It's just because the African Americans or the poor people there won't be able to afford a new place, and no one from outside the community is going to move in. So it just kind of, there's almost you're screwed if you do, you're screwed if you don't. So they just remain a status quo.
How long have you been living in Baltimore?
I've been living in Baltimore my entire life, which just entails 21 years.
Do you plan on continuing to live in Baltimore?
That's a strange question because I've thought about it, and I thought that maybe my skill sets or just my motivation to actually try to better communities might be really useful here. And I mean, I have a lot of deep-rooted friendships and a lot of deep-rooted connections here, such as I've for almost 6 or 7 years I worked with the Baha'is in Baltimore, and we've been making junior youth groups, or groups just trying to better different communities such as Carlton Square or in Bella Edison. And I would like to see that work continue to progress because I like to think of myself as a product of such work. But I also feel like I feel like I'm a fish that's just been swimming in the same pond, and I would like to branch out and just see what the world is like. So I guess my answer would be, I'm not going to continue my education in Baltimore, but I will probably end up staying in Baltimore. And with my free time that I do have between whatever activities I try to do, I hope to travel and bring every lesson that I learned from different countries or different states back to Baltimore and try to implement it in a manner that can just lead to Baltimore progressing in a good light.
What do you know about Baltimore's history?
Sports history-wise, I would say I know a pretty good amount, but just the actual city, I couldn't tell you much about the city, which I suppose is a flaw on my part, seeing as how I've lived here for 21 years, but it's just something that hasn't really interested me, but perhaps it should.
What do you know about the sports history?
I know about the Baltimore Colts, I know about the Baltimore Orioles, and those are my two favorite sports that I watch, like football and baseball. I guess that would be like the huge thing. I know about some rock musicians such as Frank Zappa, one of my favorite guitarists, is a native of Baltimore, though he moved to California later on. And that's how like one of my favorite writers, Edgar Allan Poe. He was born in Baltimore. And then one of my favorite writers of all time, F. Scott Fitzgerald, his wife stayed at Shepherd Pratt, and he actually was in Charles Village at a hotel there while she was there. So I mean, there's a lot of very interesting points and a lot of very interesting literary heritage and sports heritage. But to really say I could elaborate on those details, I really could not.
What do you think about the Lexington Market area, downtown?
Lexington Market is one of those things in Baltimore that I would say was a really good idea, has a really good history, and then it's just kind of progressed in a manner that Baltimore seems to be progressing at times, and that it's just been degrading, it's been in a downward spiral, it's now dirty, but there's still businesses there, and there's still like a bustling community there, which is really fantastic, but I would just say that it's not what it once was. It's not a huge center of commerce, it's not a huge center of tourism, it's not just an amazing place that people talk about going, it's just a place that kind of is in the backdrop of Baltimore. When you see pictures of it, it looks great, really, like pictures of Lexington Market look fantastic, but when you go there, it's not what you would imagine it to be, which I suppose is a really sad thing.
How do you think growing up in Baltimore has shaped you?
It was, like I said, I've met a lot of very interesting people, all natives of Baltimore, and some not natives of Baltimore, but they've just immigrated here for whatever reason. And I think Baltimore has such a diverse type of people. You'll meet people from so many different cultures, which has made me very multicultural. So because of that, I've learned how to speak Spanish from hanging around Broadway Avenue, which is a very large and bustling Latino community. Or I've learned how to, because of that, I've also met people who are just immigrants from Far East countries or places like that, and I've learned about their countries and it inspired me to go there. So I think the main thing about Baltimore is that it's made me multicultural, but it's also just made me very sympathetic to the plights of many other people, because Baltimore it's not really a rich city, as I would say. It's a city where you see poverty and you see crime and things, and while it's easy to just say that's the way it is, or it's easy to complain about, after a while when you kind of live in a place long enough, you kind of get this mindset that maybe things need to be done. I guess that's sort of like the mindset that most Baltimoreans kind of develop. You just start thinking to yourself, something should be done, and you just start trying to figure out what you can do. And unlike any Baltimorean in that aspect, I've just always kind of thought to myself, how can I change the city that I grew up in for the better, and change the mindsets of people who aren't from the city and make them really see the positive aspects of the community that I see since living here.
What do you think about the fact that, you know, in most places you mostly see minorities that are homeless, but out here you see like both whites and blacks with signs and things like that?
It's just it's something that a homeless white person or a homeless black person are both homeless. That's really something that we've just kind of grown up thinking like race is a huge aspect, but race isn't really what separates us. The thing that really tends to separate us, I discovered, is really class. Like, I've grown up with white people who were middle class as well, and we've all gotten along. We didn't really see race, but we all noticed that there were people richer than us. So in Baltimore, you'll go to different communities and you'll see a homeless person, and I guess what I've started noticing is what race that homeless person is, and I've just started noticing the fact that that person is homeless and that person's hungry. So like, it's just something that kind of you start picking up in Baltimore, and maybe you pick up at other places. Like, you realize, like, there's no difference between like a homeless white person, a homeless black person. They're both people who are just going through their own struggles, and they're both people who want to eat. And all you can really do is try to figure out a way that you can help them. Maybe you can give them money, maybe you can give them food, maybe you can give them like help them find a job or something if you're like really active like that. And that's what you start doing, and you just kind of put race outside of your mind.